I'll call the meeting to order. The land acknowledgement, I'll read it right now. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Asphodel-Norwood is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alterville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, Georgina Island First Nations. The Township of Asphodel-Norwood respectfully acknowledges the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain the responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'll ask right now if anybody has any pecuniary interests, or they can bring them forward at the time. And right now I'll ask for a moment of silent reflection before our meeting. Councillors, I know I went ahead with the pecuniary interest. Does anybody have any to declare at this time? No? Okay, can I have an approval for the agenda that the Township of Asphodel-Norwood Council meeting agenda for May 9th, 2023 be approved as circulated and or amended? Motion by Councillor War, second by Deputy Mayor Burt. Discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. Approval of the minutes of April 25th, 2023, Emergency Council meeting minutes of April 27th, 2023. Recommendation that the minutes of the regular meeting held on April 25th, 2023 and emergency meeting be adopted as presented or amended. Mover. Moved by Councillor Walsh. Seconder. Deputy Mayor Burt. Discussion.
And that's as presented. Mayor.
As presented. All in favor of those motions? That motion's carried. We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Mayor, could I have a question? Just business arising. I did have a question there. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Through you. And actually, this question is more, I guess, directed at Councillor Walsh and yourself, Mayor. I know Mr. McNeil from the delegation was reaching out to both the Lions and the Legion, and I just wondered if you are aware of where that's sitting, either one of you.
Barry and I have discussed that, and we haven't got our final discussion in yet, but that will be right shortcoming, and Mr. McNeil will hear about it right away. Barry?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I could just basically build on what Mayor Pat said, is that I did reach out to the gentleman the day they actually came to council. He has forwarded a letter to the Lions Club, and I believe it's going to be addressed initially at the directors meeting this Thursday, and it'll be brought to the whole membership next Thursday.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other discussion? Okay, we already passed that. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Recommendation that Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood approves the consent agenda as circulated and or amended. Mover, Councillor War, second by Councillor Walsh. Any discussion? All in favor of that motion? That motion's carried. Delegation, we have Kathy Warner and I'll
It's
get it here. Kathy Warner and Nicola Lyle from the Peterborough Child and Family Center. Would you care to start, ladies?
Yes, I can start. And I can see I have the wrong name on my screen. It's because I was using a link that Kathy forwarded to me. So I will correct that in a few moments. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you so much for making room for us on, I'm sure it's a busy agenda as always. So we really appreciate your time and consideration. So my name is Nicola Lyle, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Peterborough Child and Family Centers. We have been providing services in the Norwood community, as Kathy will detail, for a very long time. So if you've used our services and your children are older, you might remember us as Peterborough Family Resource Center, which we were for many years. We were Peterborough Family Enrichment Center some years back now. And we've been Peterborough Child and Family Centers for about the past 5 years. But our services and what we do haven't really changed dramatically. Some of how we do it has changed a little bit. And Kathy and I actually both have, pretty deep connections to the Norwood community. We both started with the organization as frontline program staff many years ago for both of us. And both of us worked in Norwood. In fact, my first role with the organization was as a county outreach lead, where I established some of our ongoing programs in Norwood. So I'm really pleased to be here today, and I will pass things over to Kathy.
Thank you, Nicola. I do have a presentation that I would like to share, and so I guess I'll see if I can do screen share. I'm not sure if I can if I'm not administrator, but I'll just see how that goes. Yeah, it says I disabled as a participant screen sharing. So
1 minute.
You should have permission now, Kathy.
great, thank you. Yes, I do. Okay, can you all see my first slide?
Mhm.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay, I do have a presentation with a little bit of history of us serving Norwood. And then at the end of the presentation, the request that we have that we would like to ask of you. So Peterborough Child and Family Centers, our PCFC, which I will refer to through my presentation, is a charitable, registered charitable organization that provides information and support to expectant parents and families with young children living in the county and city of Peterborough. At PCFC, families flourish, parents connect, children learn through play, and friendships blossom. We believe in the importance of family and the development of happy, healthy children. They need a place that is local, free, and fun. We exist to inspire all our participants, children and adults, to share, learn, and grow. Our cost-free programs offer an engaging environment for parents and others who care for children to explore, create together while building relationships with other families in their community. Play, attachment, and learning are critical for child development, and helping families form friendships and build a network of support and connections is vital to their overall well-being, while strengthening their ability to navigate through life as a parent. The child and family educators who facilitate the programs support learning, share resources, and their expertise. Norwood has been identified as a community with high number of vulnerable families with challenging life circumstances such as low income, single parenting, and isolation. With federal funding provided through Public Health Agency of Canada, we provide these self-identified families with additional supports, including a weekly $20 grocery voucher that can be used at the local Foodland store to help supplement food costs. For 40 years, PCFC has offered programs and services in a variety of urban and rural locations, and we do have, as Nicola mentioned, a long history with Asphodel-Norwood. Prior to securing a permanent site in the community, PCFC had a mobile outreach program servicing several rural communities. Program staff drove a large van filled with everything required to transport and transform a donated space into a warm, welcoming, and enjoyable environment. For several years, Norwood United Church provided space until the new Asphodel-Norwood Community Center was completed. And as you can see pictured at the bottom, as well as Westwood Library, we also did an outreach mobile program there. For several, the Millennial Room provided an accessible location with convenient parking, surrounded by lots of safe green space to extend the program outdoors. Our programs have always been well received in Norwood. Our programs have historically been filled to capacity with 40 to 50 adults and children each time we visited. In 2010, PCFC made the decision to create 2 permanent rural sites to better serve families living in the County of Peterborough. Using local data to determine which communities had large number of families with young children, Norwood and Lakefield were selected as communities to host these sites. At the time, there was plenty of empty space available in the high schools located at each of these locations. Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board recognized the value of the long-term outcomes of our programs the outcomes of our programs provided to children that we serve, and agreed to partner with PCFC to provide rent-free space to accommodate a permanent home in each of these communities. These spaces quickly became community hubs, providing opportunities for other agencies such as 5 Counties Children's Center and Peterborough Public Health to also provide services to families in these rural locations. Fast forward to this time last year, when, because of Asphodel-Norwood's rapid population growth, Norwood Intermediate High School announced that they needed to take back community space in their school to accommodate their own enrollment issues. Unfortunately, this included PCFC's newly renovated exclusive classroom. Principal Kathleen Martharis offered a shared classroom to accommodate us for the current school year, but it is not an appropriate ongoing solution. Due to the space itself, the limited availability, and the time commitment involved in clearing and resetting the classroom each time that we offer a program. Ideally, we would like to find another space to house our programs more permanently without the need for staff to continually set up and take down all the necessary toys and equipment, and would also allow us to offer a larger variety of services. In the interim, until such space is found, we do not want to leave the families in their community, your community, without support for them through our programs. According to census data, between 2016 and 2021, the general population of Asphodel-Norwood grew by just over 13%, with the population of 0 to 4-year-olds growing by almost 31%. This data quickly tells us it is largely young families moving into this community. The participation data collected by PCFC reveals approximately 20% of those children have been to one of our programs in the last 4 months. With better space, it is without a doubt that we could see a lot more of them. The Early Development Instrument, or EDI, is a population measurement of child development health that looks at the readiness to learn in schools. The 2020 EDI data tells us 28% of kindergarten-aged children in Norwood were vulnerable to one or more developmental domains. You can see on the screen is a listing of each of the domains that this developmental instrument measures. This is an improvement since the previous 2015 EDI report for this community was still higher and higher than in the average of County of Peterborough average. The domain most Asphodel-Norwood children are most vulnerable in is emotional maturity, which looks at things like the ability to concentrate on tasks, think before they act, have patience, show empathy to others, and not often be angry or aggressive. PCFC programs not only support children to develop emotional maturity by providing the opportunity to interact with other children and engage in fun, specifically planned activities that help them to manage their emotions and strengthen self-control, but our programs address all areas of children's development. In conversation with municipal staff, it is our understanding that there is space available at the Norwood Town Hall during the summer months for a weekly morning program. And from September through to June, the Millennial Room is available to accommodate a twice weekly program. Unfortunately, our funding and budget do not provide the financial resources needed to pay ongoing rental fees. Throughout the existence of PCFC, all program spaces, apart from our administrative building in Peterborough, have been provided without cost in exchange for programming for children. With the exception of a small organization serving Millbrook, we are the only organization that provides these services in the Peterborough City and County. In exchange for provision of programs that serve in the best interest of the children residing in the township of Asphodel-Norwood, and ultimately the community as a whole, PCFC would like to make the request for council to waive the rental fees when using municipal space to provide our programs. And thank you.
Thank you, Kathy and Nicola, for the presentation that you've just done. Councillors, any questions for these ladies? Deputy Mayor Burt?
Thank you through you, Mayor, and thank you very much for the presentation. Certainly, it's a very well received program that's been here for years. I've known Kathy from probably 25, 30 years ago when I took part in the programming, so it has been around a long time. Certainly, we are getting more families. Now, you said that you do receive some federal funding. I guess my one concern is you are ultimately looking for something that's permanent. And in the meantime, you'd like to, find some interim solutions. And if you can secure some places, whether it be the town hall or the Millennium Room, you'll still have to pack things up and move them, or is there storage available? or maybe Candace could answer that as well, because I know it, you know, certainly the situation you were in at the high school was perfect. Everything was there. And unfortunately, it just seems odd that not that many years ago, many of us sitting around this table were fighting to keep our school open, and they were looking at, you know, sharing space with all these community groups. And now it's the complete opposite situation. So, so I guess my concern is the moving in and out in the storage, and what your expectations are, and I guess what staff expectations are from the municipal level. So whether somebody from the delegation or Candace may be able to answer some of that. Thank you.
I can start. Yeah, as Kathy said, you know, the setting up each time it's not the ideal. The challenge that we have in the school right now is we're literally taking down the classroom, setting up the play space, taking down the play space, setting up the classroom. And so it's really double even what we would be proposing at the Millennium Room. So I think, yeah, as I say, as you said, the Norwood High School was the perfect solution. We've been there since 2010. And certainly, you know, I'm from Lakefield, so I also know the whole story of fighting to keep schools open and how quickly things change. But that's kind of where we are. So yeah, we are hopeful it's an interim solution, but it is certainly a much better solution than we're currently having at the school.
CAO White, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So
Candace.
for you, just to respond to Deputy Mayor's questions. Yes, we have had internal discussions in regards to the storage space requirement for this request. The town hall is much more limited for its availability. There has been chatter about being able to put a permanent storage solution in the Millennium Room for programming such as this. That said, we are going to be including community needs into the master facilities plan when we take a look at that later in 2023, as we're looking at current municipal needs and future projected needs for facility space. A very important part of that conversation will be what are the needs of the community for space as we look at solutions and long-term recommendations out of that. Regardless, I think there is a solution that municipal staff and Kathy and Nicola can work through in order to make this a viable interim option for them until we get to a position where potentially there is a permanent solution in the township for them. The Millennium Room is going to be easier than the town hall. The town hall is limited for space based on the Lions Club, the space that they utilize, as well as the food bank, the space that they utilize. Those two entities have the prime real estate, so to speak, in the town hall for storage. So that said, though, there is solutions without getting into the nitty gritty of what corner is going to be used in each facility and what cupboard we're going to build and designate to them. I do think we're going to be able to assist them, at least in the interim, until we can assist them with finding something more permanent. The community needs them here. So
Yes, they do. Kathy or Nicola, I just wondered, have you reached out to the other two schools that are here to see if they have a room?
We have reached out to both the separate school as well as the Kawartha Pine Ridge. And
Right.
if
Okay.
they could accommodate us, they had both said they definitely would do so, but they just do not have
Space.
space.
Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Walsh? Barry, you're on mute.
Sorry, thank you very much, Mayor, through you. Yeah, familiar with your program. Obviously, we would love to keep you here. I just have two quick questions just for clarity. One is, you're saying your normal capacity about 40 to 50 adults and children. Any idea what the split is of those of when you're doing your program in Norwood that are actually Asphodel-Norwood residents versus outside residents?
I couldn't give you that information in the moment, but I certainly could. We have a really lovely new data system that allows us to track that information very carefully. We do know the majority would be Asphodel-Norwood residents, potentially some from Havelock, but we have multiple sites in the city of Peterborough, and then we have sites, Lakefield, as Kathy described, and also Apsley. And then the Millbrook organization that we referred to covers Millbrook, and I think provides a weekly program in Keene. So there are lots of options for families to kind of attend in their home communities. But yeah, that's certainly information that we can provide.
Okay, but for the most part, I think the key is majority are local, which that kind of helps me with decisions. And I guess, and maybe you've had this discussion with our CAO, but storage space required, how much kind of storage space do you need, knowing that this is not a permanent solution if we were to be able to move forward with something for you? How much space kind of do you require, knowing that you're going to have to set up, take down, set up?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I think in minimum, we would need at least something that would accommodate like a 6 by 8 in terms of dimension, feet. I probably should be using meters, but I do know one of our program staff have already been in conversation with Seamus with regards to what could possibly work or be available at the Millennial Room. Make that work.
Just gives us an idea. And sorry if I can just build on that question, is again, this, if we're able to move forward with this, obviously this is not a permanent solution, which I'm sure is preferred by your organization, but this could work for you until a permanent location potentially could be found in the municipality.
Yes, I believe so. I understand that the Millennial Room is being used for summer programs during July and August. So the option of being able to use the town hall because we would like to continue a program, at least a weekly program, even through the summer months in July and August, using the town hall space. That program in the summer would be more of a registered program and more limited toys and equipment would be needed to be brought to that space by staff. So we did that in an interim while we were waiting for our newly renovated space in the school and managed to do that. We left a few things.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hodge-Greaves.
Thank you. Just, have you also reached out to the churches? When I was in nursery school, we went to the Presbyterian Church, and also the United Church obviously used to be a part, or is it not favorable to go to the religious organizations? I was just curious if you had reached out.
We had some conversation with an initial meeting with some of the municipal staff and looked at identifying and with their support of helping to identify some possible alternative options. We do need to ensure that we have a space that is accessible. And so we just knew that ideally the millennial space and the municipal space that you provided is accessible, as well as a space that would also provide storage. So we didn't contact them individually, but we would like to see if this is an option first.
We certainly don't have an issue working with churches where we've provided programs in churches before, so that's not the issue. It is more about the appropriateness of the space, especially not just families with disabilities, but just strollers alone are such a challenge when there's stairs, and we're mostly with churches talking about rooms that are downstairs and things like that. So it's more about that.
Thank you.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I would just like to thank you for coming and doing this presentation. I was surprised about how many families are using this, and to the point that Councillor Walsh made, that many of them are local families. So I just wanted to thank you for bringing this forward and the information. It's important for us to know. I just wanted to clarify, so you do have a space at the high school until the end of June, if that's correct, and when that transition period would take place. Thank you.
We do have that classroom that we're currently using until the end of the school year, the end of June. And so therefore the transition would need to take place likely that last week of June. Staff would make that transition, and so we have programs available starting the first week of July in one of the municipal spaces, the town hall, I guess it would be. We were looking at the Monday mornings. So I do believe that first Monday may be a stat holiday, which we would not be offering programs. So it may be the second week of July.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, ladies, for your presentation. I'd like to receive this presentation as presented, and further that we will try to facilitate the organization. If we can come up with something in our community, it's well deserved and well needed. Can I have a motion to receive that?
Excellent.
Councillor War, Councillor Walsh, any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, just for clarification that we receive it, and that we can have further discussion later on in the meeting under general business. Is that clarify things?
That's
To hammer out
yes.
some details. Is that good? Okay, thank you.
All in CAO White?
Thank you. And just, Mayor, you can't put motions on the floor. So I just
Okay,
need,
sorry.
that's okay. I need the motion.
I need a motion to receive the presentation, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, and that was moved by Councillor War before and Councillor Walsh, I think. Is that all right, Barry?
Yeah, that's fine.
All in favor of that motion to receive? Thank you. That motion's passed. Thank you again, ladies.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time and you know, the welcome that we've always received and felt in the Norwood community.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. We'll move on to staff reports. R1 is from Ed Whitmore, Chief Building Official. Ed, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, this is a merger agreement for the consent application B-9-21. And as per my report, the application for consent was submitted to the County of Peterborough back in 2021. And it's for a residential lot addition to the neighboring property. And the whole reason for this lot addition was because the neighboring property's driveway crossed over this little sliver of land. And so they want to rectify that and have that little sliver of land added to the lot. And then he'll have his own entrance on his own property. So they applied for the severance to the county. We brought the severance application to the Township of Asphodel-Norwood back in March of 2021, and council recommended approval. So we sent the municipal appraisal form to the county. The county approved the severance application, satisfactory to the property being rezoned, because right now it was rural and it had to be rezoned to residential 1. And the second item for the township was to merger agreement so that both parcels of land would be sold as one parcel of land. And so today, that's why the staff report is presented to council is the merger agreement, and it'll satisfy that part of the conditions of the county approval. So our zoning has already been completed. Now just the merger agreement has to be completed, and time is running out very quickly on this. During the pandemic, the time frame generally of 12 months was extended to 2 years. And so they have until, I think it's this June 4th of 2023 in order to satisfy all the conditions, or they lose the severance. So almost everything has been done, 90% of everything. So this is one of the last things to tidy up. And that's about it for my report.
Okay, so the recommendation is that the council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report regarding the merger agreement for consent application B9-21 for information. And further, that the council of Township Asphodel-Norwood authorizes the mayor and clerk to execute a merger agreement between Barbara Joy Bailey, applicant, and Patrick Joseph Doherty and Brenda Marie Doherty, purchasers, and the corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood. And I have a mover. Councillor Walsh and Councillor Ward. Any discussion with Ed? All in favor of that motion? Motion's carried. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
Moving to R2, we'll talk to Peter Deshane, our Public Works and Environmental Services. Peter, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, this report is regarding the 2023 gravel crushing program, which forms part of our gravel resurfacing program as well. So on April 24th, 2023 at 12 noon, the tenders were opened for the 2023-03 gravel crushing program tender. And the following roads were included in the gravel crushing, or are going to be included in the gravel resurfacing program this year. Cameron Line from County Road 2 to Centerline Road, Moore Drive from County Road 2 to Asphodel 7th Line, Comstock Road from Sand Road to the dead end, and Cooper Road from Sand Road to the dead end, and the 6th line from the Centerline Road north to the dead end. There was only one tender submission received, and that was from Drain Brothers Excavating Limited, and the total amount of the tender was $52,500 plus HST. So the 2023 operating budget included $45,000 for the gravel crushing / resurfacing program, which included $5,000 for the rental of compaction equipment. So if the work was completed under the tender at $52,500, that's an approximate increase of 18% from 2022. So staff are recommending that based on those inflation costs, that we reduce the amount of material crushed and stockpiled from 7,000 metric tons to 3,000 metric tons. This should bring us back in line with our budgeted amount for 2023. We estimate that there's currently 3,000 tons remaining from 2022 in our stockpile. And so if we reduce the amount we're going to stockpile this year to 3,500 tons, that should leave us enough to have some in reserve. We'd like to have about 2,000 tons in reserve for emergency purposes or things that may arise. And so if we don't end up having enough material to cover all the roads that we listed above, they'll be prioritized in the order that they are listed. And that basically concludes my report.
Councillor Hodge-Greaves.
Excuse me.
Hodge-Greaves.
Through you, Mayor. Peter, I just have a question. If you reduce the amount you're asking of the type of gravel, will the unit rate stay the same? Did you make sure that they won't increase the rate of the unit rate, so it would actually reduce the cost, if you know what I mean? Did I explain that?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So typically the way tenders are written, the township has the right to reduce any quantity amount that they need to adjust for budgets. So that doesn't affect the unit rate.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, we have a recommendation that the council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report regarding the tender result for the 2023 gravel crushing program information, and further that the council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood authorizes the mayor clerk to execute an agreement between Drained Brothers Excavating Limited and the Township of Asphodel-Norwood for the 2023 gravel crushing program in the amount of $40,250. Can I have a mover for that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Burt, second by Councillor Hodge Greaves. Any more discussion? That motion, everybody in favor? That motion is carried. Peter, you can go on to R3.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. This report is regarding our 2023 surface treatment program tender results. So again, on April 24th at 12 noon, tenders were open for tender number 2023-06, which is our 2023 surface treatment program. Roads that are included in the surface treatment program this year are the Asphodel third line from Highway 7 to Center Line Road, Old Orchard Road from the 10th line to County Road 45. I'll just back up. On the third line will be a double layer of surface treatment, and the following roads will all be a single layer, so a maintenance layer of surface treatment. So moving on, Asphodel 6 line from Highway 7 north to the gravel, River Road from the Trent Hills boundary to Asphodel 6 line or to the gravel portion, which is between the 6th line and the 5th line. Asphodel 4th line from Sand Road north to the gravel, and that's between Highway 7 and Center Line Road. Asphodel 10th line from Center Line Road south to the gravel. Asphodel 4th line between Sand Road and Center Line Road. That's just to fill in the gap that's there. That will be a double layer as well. And Center Line Road between Cameron Line and County Road 38, and that is to fill in the gap there as well. There's a gravel section there. So the tender requested pricing on the 4th line and Center Line Road, as we just noted there, as provisional items. This gives us the opportunity to either include them or not include them because they are provisional items. There was one tender submission received, and that was from Miller Paving Limited in the amount of $357,361, excluding HST. The 2023 capital budget increase included $355,225 or $224 for the tendered scope of work. So with the net HST, we're coming in at $363,864.97. That's a difference of $8,640.97. That difference will be funded from the Public Works capital budget, or sorry, construction reserve. And that concludes my report.
I'll read the recommendation, councillors, that the council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report regarding the 2023 resurface treatment program tender results for information, and further that the council of Township Asphodel-Norwood authorizes the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement between Miller Paving Limited and the Township of Asphodel-Norwood for the 2023 surface treatment program in the amount of $357,361 plus HST. Can I have a mover for that? You're not getting no work done, Peter. Moved by Councillor Walsh. Seconder. Councillor Ward, discussion. Councillor Walsh.
Just one quick clarifying question, Peter. So that will actually, it will include the provisional work, correct?
Thank you, through Mayor. Yes, Barry, that will include the provisional work.
That's what I thought the way I read it. Just want to double check, which yeah, makes sense when they're here. Let's get it done. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Ward.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, to Peter. Peter, just a clarification. When we do the single layer, the maintenance layer, how often do we do that? You know, on those roads? Like, is it like a 5-year cycle, or what's the timeline on that?
Thank you, through Mayor. Yeah, typically we try to do them every 3 to 5 years, just to keep them from going to the point of no return. So yeah, that's pretty common, and you'll see that when we get our surface treatment plan updated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Burt.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Yeah, Barry had asked the question about provisional versus including and excluding, and I'm just you know, looking at the finances and what we budgeted. It's yes, it's still over, but certainly coming within a range that can be managed, because certainly we saw a lot of items coming in last year that we just had to put off. So it's not great to see it come over, but it's certainly within our range of covering that. So thank you for your hard work on this. Much appreciated.
Any other questions of Peter? All in favor of the motion put forward? I need some hands up. Councillor Walsh, War, and Greaves. Okay, the motion's carried. The recommendation, sorry.
Mayor, I just
yes.
wanted to let you know, I think you're experiencing a delay or a disconnect, because the hands are coming up. They're there. I just don't think you're seeing them.
No, I'm not seeing them.
No.
And
so I think there is some, the internet isn't being kind to us today.
Peter was breaking up also a wee bit.
Yeah, I think we're experiencing some technical difficulties. So if you don't need to staff, I think I'm okay to carry on. Ed and Peter, maybe it'll help if we have less people on the meeting. So I'll say goodbye to you both, just to see if that'll help, and I'll chat to you both soon. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see if that
Hopefully that's better.
helps. There's just a number of us in the office today accessing the same internet, and I'm not really sure what's going on there. So sorry, I just wanted to let you know that, Mayor. Sorry to
Okay,
interrupt.
thank you very much. I was experiencing something with Peter's report there. It was sort of garbled there a bit, but then I had already read the report, so I knew what was going on. Moving on to R4, year-end financial variance. Candace?
Thank you, Mayor. So post in-house audit on an annual basis, I bring forward a report to council that details all the general ledger accounts at year end December 31st, 2022 for the municipal operating and capital accounts. This is pre-final financial statements being drafted. There is the final year-end entries that the auditors and I have to pass. But all in all, there's no significant impact to the general ledgers that are provided to council. Traditionally, when the township is in a surplus position, this is the time that we take a look and staff make a recommendation as to where the surplus is allocated into which reserve accounts. A lot of times it's just allocated based on the departments that have the surplus. And a lot of times that's just because projects weren't procured and moved forward with for a multitude of reasons that happened in the preceding year, and they move forward in the subsequent year. So we put them into a reserve in order to draw from that reserve in the following budget, which you see between basically since COVID in 2020 right up to now, we've seen probably more of that than we've seen in the 10 years preceding it, just due to supply of services, demand on labor, and inflation and the cost of getting certain things done. I'm happy to report, as council, you get these every quarter, so you would have been well aware if there was any issue that needed to be reported before now. But the township is sitting in a surplus position, and we will be able to allocate to the reserves that are listed in the staff report as a recommendation. The exact amounts that will be allocated to each reserve will be reported back to council after the final offsite audit is completed, and we will report that back, and you'll get your final reserve balances in the statements at that time. As you can see, there's ebbs and flows in every general ledger, and the ones that were out of alignment with the budget, I always tried to give a little bit of an explanation in regards beside the general ledger. As you know, I do not do a line by line review as a staff member with council, but I do provide it as I feel it's important for council to be completely aware of each general ledger item. There's hundreds of them, so I don't think we need to speak on each one of them today. But before we move off of the municipal operating and the municipal capital budgets, I will take any questions from council and any thoughts that they have in allocating the surplus reserve to the road reconstruction reserve, planning reserve, working funds reserve, and the facilities reserve. And then we can move on to the second part of my report.
Any questions, councillors?
Okay. Oh,
Deputy Mayor Burt?
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you for this. Like you say, that there are no, certainly are no surprises as we've seen this every quarter throughout the year. And I guess when we're looking at number 4, the facilities reserve, that will certainly be something that comes into play once we get the facilities study done and to see where things are going. So and just to remind us, all of these reserves, it's a little bit different than development fee charges. They don't need, there's not a time limit in which they need to be used up, correct? They can sit there and build, whereas development charge reserves, they have a timeline. Is that correct? Can you just remind us of that?
yes. So to answer two-part, yes, the facilities reserve will come into play for the master facilities plan. It'll clearly indicate to us the deficit that we have to fund that plan, I'm sure, because I'm sure there won't be enough in that reserve to fund all the recommendations that are going to come out of that report. And the second part of that question, yes, you are quite right. So there are reserve funds and there are reserve accounts. Reserve funds under the Municipal Act, they're designated funds. So there's parkland and there's development charge. Those two fund accounts have timelines established against them, as well as criteria in which money goes in and criteria in which money comes out. The reserve accounts, the accounts are very similar to a personal savings account. So, you know, we put money in, we earmark them for certain purposes. So we know why the money is being allocated into the reserve, but there is more, it's more of a discretionary fund as far as, so if something were to happen and we have a lot of money in the road reconstruction reserve, but some major emergency happens in, say, the fire department, well, technically we could borrow internally from that reserve account and fund that emergency. So there's much more discretion from a municipal council and staff perspective that can be used for a reserve account. But 95% of the time, if not more, they're earmarked for specific projects or futuristic, I guess, asset management plan allocations for the most part.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Ward.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. Candace, it's just a comment, and I think I've said this before, but I find the notes that you have on the right-hand side of the column so beneficial, because we're not in this world every single day. And so when I go through and then you have the notes on the side, it really is beneficial when I'm asking you questions. So I just wanted to thank you for keep on including them, because we need them. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and most definitely will continue to include them. I think they're important, and it's good record for looking back to for all of us. So you're quite welcome. One quick item that I think is important to highlight is a portion of the reserve fund that's going to go forward to the road reconstruction reserve is the substantial increase that we received in 2022 from the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, the OCIF formula based. So that is going to come forward and come into play in 2023. So that's an important thing to highlight. We definitely are grateful for that. The Norwood Water and Norwood Sanitary departments obviously are self-sustaining. They are not impacted by the tax base, and they are completely funded by the users of those two systems. At the end of the day, each after the reserve allocations that were budgeted were put forward, we are sitting in a slight deficit for each one of those departments that will be funded out of their reserve account. So there's lots in the reserves that will be able to fund those slight deficits. We know we took some major hits in 2022 in both of those departments. Most significantly would be the water main break on Highway 7. That was $60,000 to correct and repair. Obviously, that's why we have a reserve and we build it and put surplus in there in the years that we can, because you can never predict when those breaks are going to happen. And fortunately, we have the reserve there to fund those sorts of things. So we are in a sustainable financial position moving forward to continue on the capital project side of things that were budgeted. And all hookup fees were transferred to the reserve on the water side as well. The wastewater side, the biggest impact there, you can see there was not as much on the wastewater side, slight deficit of approximately $18,000. We're still transferring some from reserve, transferring to reserves. So that $18,000 will be funded from the operating reserve at the end of the day. There was some impact due to construction. For the most part, they're all construction, and thank you. You can thank inflation. Again, council has in front of them all the detailed general ledger lines. I will gladly take any questions if you have them. Trentview Estates, that separate water system, was sitting in a surplus position. So there was an allocation of $9,000 to the reserve for that department. So that reserve continues to grow to ensure that we have funds for any asset replacement in the distribution system, specifically in the Park Lane area. Also included is the library, so the Fund 50. So the Fund 50 is in front of council for your review and consideration. And I'll take that audit happens separately. So the library board and the cemetery board have their own audit and they have their own financial statements. The auditors have not given a financial statement for either one of those boards, as they are done after the township, and the township isn't even completed for 2022. So I suspect it could be another month or month and a half before we see anything from them. So I think that's it for me, Mayor. There's a lot of information in front of council, so I'll just take any questions.
Any questions of our CAO? Seeing none, we have a recommendation that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report in regards of the 2022 year-end financial variance for information. And further, that the council of the township of Asphodel-Norwood authorizes allocation of surplus to the road construction reserve, planning reserve, working funds reserve, and facilities reserve. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Walsh, Deputy Mayor Burt. The hands are going up a little quicker now. Things are starting to look better here. Any more discussion? All in favor of that motion? That motion's carried. On to C5.
Thank you, Mayor. So the report in front of council is in regards to community entrance signs. So as council is aware, on February 28th of 2023, council received a delegation from the Westwood Enhancement Committee. And out of that delegation came direction of staff in the form of a motion to liaise with representatives from the Westwood Enhancement Committee to prepare a report for council's consideration at a future meeting. We obviously took that direction, and we met with members of the Westwood community and the Enhancement Committee. Councillor Walsh, the mayor, and I met at the Westwood Library on March 24th, 2023, and had a productive meeting with those attendants. It was great. They expressed their need to feel pride of place and respect the historical identity of the area, and wish to see that reflected in the community entrance signage. One local resident also presented a draft design of an entrance sign for both Westwood and Norwood, and they were presented at that same meeting. So the same signs that were presented during the delegation were also presented to the mayor, Mr. Walsh, and I at the Westwood Library. So this conversation has been ongoing. As we know, we have received multiple signatures from the residents on Centerline Road in Westwood in regards to their hopes that council would take a look at the entrance signage and potentially consider a change. So over the course of these conversations in the last couple of months, township staff has been taking a step back and taking a look at this in order to frame it in a way that we feel is conducive to a successful result. And to do that, staff has laid out a solution for council to consider today. The solution is as follows. So consult with a graphic designer and sign manufacturer to present 3 draft designs for council's consideration. Present those 3 designs to council at a regular meeting of council. Incorporate any comments received from council into those draft designs and represent the designs at another meeting of council. And then once council is satisfied, release those 3 designs to the public for their vote and comment. All of that, the results of that public consultation will be reported back to council. At that time, council can decide if they wish to incorporate any of those comments received into the designs or allow the one that received the most popular vote to move forward to production. The final concept will be released to the public after council's final decision, and the costs associated with manufacturing and installation of the new signs will be incorporated into the 2024 budget. Assuming the 2024 budget is approved with the previous item, then they would be installed in the spring of 2024 after the locates were received. The current 6 community entrance signs would be repurposed to the following locations: Sand Road Pit, West and East entrance. So 2 signs are required at that municipally owned asset. 1 at the wastewater treatment plant, 1 at the water treatment plant, and then 2 to be utilized at the transfer station. Prior to the signs being installed to their new locations, the sign would be reduced in size by cutting the words Westwood and Norwood off of the bottom of the signs and repurposing them. So those locations that are just mentioned require signs. They've never been quote unquote rebranded, and a couple of them, the signs are gone and have been gone for a number of years, such as the wastewater plant and the Sand Road Pit entrance signs. So there is a legal requirement for the township to identify its municipal facilities and its assets. So these signs would be purchased in subsequent budgets regardless of this initiative. The estimated cost of having the 6 signs manufactured and installed is approximately $9,000. And although ample public consultation was completed during the rebranding process itself, specific consultation wasn't entered into for the gateway and entrance signs. And the entrance signs were implemented in the same manner in which all other rebranding of municipal assets took place after the rebranding was put into effect. This has led to a feeling of a loss of identity and pride of place from some of our residents. The solution provided in the staff report will revisit that approach and provide the opportunity for public engagement for all residents. The locations in which the current signs will be repurposed need signage, and the cost of that signage would have been incurred in the 04 and 05 budgets. That is all I have to say in regards to the staff report, so I will gladly take any questions or comments. Thank you.
Councillor War.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank you for putting forward this report and proposal. I think it's a balanced response, and I think you've really listened and brought this forward to us from the consultations with the residents. I do have a couple of questions, if I may. I was just, and I think I know the answer to the one, so because we haven't reached that threshold, how will a graphic designer be chosen for the project? And the second one, would there be any process if any of the designs came forward and we weren't happy with them? Is there something in place that we could address that, or would that just be at the council table? And sorry, I have a third one. So there's the one, the repurposing of the signs. I think that's great for the other locations. I was just wondering about the gateway signs on Highway 7, and if there would be any further conversation about if or where they may go. So I'm sorry, I'll leave it at that. Sorry for the questions.
That's okay. I think I can remember all of them. So we'll go in reverse order. The Highway 7 signs, gateway signs, yes. So we do have gateway signs at the entrance to every roadway coming into the township, except Highway 7. Obviously, we have them on 7 coming into Norwood, the village, but that was grandfathered and existing. To go out to the eastern and westerly boundaries of the township, that has not been addressed. Those signs would have to be placed on private property. They could not be placed in the MTO corridor. So that conversation has been earmarked as something that needs to happen in the future. It has not been earmarked for 2023 or a part of this staff report that's in front of you to be taking place in partnership with it. The signs would have to be much larger than the signs that are installed just in the entrance to the villages. Obviously, they're going to be set quite substantially off of Highway 7. So the sign needs to be reflective of that distance. And there would have to be the budget associated with that was not included in 2023. Stay tuned. I suspect you'll see something coming forward to that in 24 or 25. I want to go backwards for some reason. I want to go back to 04 and 05. I don't know what happened back then, but I want to go back there today. Said that twice. So that's that. If council wasn't happy with the 3 designs that were presented, I think based on, the branding is fairly specific, but also I think as staff, we have a fairly clear understanding of where the residents want to go and what the feel that is that they're looking for. So I think we'll at least be able to get it 50% of the way in order to present it to council. And then you will have the opportunity to make comments, tweak it, etc. There is also the opportunity to create a small committee, which is likely where I would head, to take a look at it, which would include a council member on that committee. So it would just be council member, staff member, and a management team member, just so there's 3 sets of eyes on them before they come forward to council table, so we can get them ready to release them out to the public. But I think we'll be close enough when it comes in the public forum that I don't think that'll be a concern. But if we have to go back and forth a couple times, so be it. We're quite prepared to do that. The choosing of the graphic designer is going to be within our procurement threshold. So there won't be the need to go through the exercise and the cost of a request for proposal or a tender, because under our procurement policy, it's within that threshold. There is 2 organizations, including the organization that conducted our second last strategic plan, the strategic plan for the libraries, as well as the rebranding process, which is Structure Harrop. So they'll definitely be considered. But I have put feelers out to other municipalities that have rebranded in the last while, such as Selwyn, Cavan Monaghan, North Kawartha. They've all rebranded as well as municipal entities to see who they utilized, just to put some feelers out. So I'm confident that staff will be able to procure a qualified candidate to take on the exercise.
Thank you very much for that 3 answers. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Mayor Burt.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Actually, I'll just have a comment because Paula War asked 2 of my questions and you answered them perfectly about Highway 7, as well as would we be looking at the company who did the rebranding to go back to do this. So thank you for those explanations. I know this has been an interesting road that we've all been down, and certainly from council members and staff. And I honestly, this is a great solution, and we all know, we aren't going to please everyone, but I think this, your 9, 10 steps that you've laid out is a good solution, and I think it's the solution to move this forward. And I know it's been a lot of work, a lot of thought has gone into it, a lot of meetings and conversations, and I am certainly in full support of of this recommendation, and looking forward to moving forward and finding a solution by the end of the year. So thank you very much. So whenever you want a motion, Mayor, I can do that.
Okay. Councillor Hodge-Greaves, you had your hand up before. Did you want to comment?
Yeah, well, thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you, CAO White. This is a wonderful presentation. Paul asked all the questions, so just thank you. That's fine. That's good. I think it's wonderful, and I think the public consultation piece is what unfortunately had been missed last time because of the delay, because of COVID and the steam running out of the project. So I feel this is a wonderful approach, and it's greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Okay, councillors, recommendation that the council of the Township of
We have
Asphodel-Norwood.
Councillor Walsh. Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor Walsh.
Sorry, I should have had my hand up. No, I just more or less to comment. I think most of the questions have been answered, but from my perspective, I like this approach we're taking. It's certainly very consultative. We've taken some feedback already. Yes, we're going to have potentially a solution approved here very shortly. Yes, it's going to take some time, but you know what? Let's get it right. And if it does take a bit of time to get it right, then I think that's the most important part, is we do get it right. And I think it just remind any members that are watching from the enhancement committee is that we have gone through a whole branding exercise, and that branding still needs to be a big part of this, because that's really what it's all about. And whatever new signs we come up with for both the hamlet of Westwood and the village of Norwood still really has to be reflective of that current branding that we have already bought into and is now part of Asphodel-Norwood Township, or our growing success.
Yeah. Okay, I'll read the recommendation that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report in regards to the community entrance signs for information, and further that the Council of Township of Asphodel-Norwood authorizes staff to consult with a graphic designer in order to prepare 3 draft concepts of the community entrance signs located in Norwood and Westwood for council's consideration. Councillors, moved by Deputy Mayor Burt. Seconder, Councillor Hodge-Greaves. All in favor of that? That motion is carried. Moving along to R6, Candace, redevelopment agreement.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So long awaited next step in regards to the development of the Norwood Medical Campus building that a developer is proposing on the Spruce Street extension. So as council is aware, strategic priority number 1 in our strategic plan was sustainability, achieving operational excellence. And one of the main categories underneath strategic priority number 1, identified as number 1 every single time we put out a survey, is healthcare. And although healthcare is not a municipal mandate, it is a provincial mandate. What seems to be happening is downloading without downloading. And I think we have seen it loud and clear in the last number of years. And the residents want access to primary health care. And in order to get access to primary health care, unfortunately, what is happening is a competitive scenario amongst communities across this province. And in order to ensure that Asphodel-Norwood is a competitor, to ensure that when Dr. Keogh retires, that we have someone to take over his patient load. And it's not even just addressing the current patient load, it's all the growth and the waiting list that he even has. You know, although he has approximately 1,700 rostered patients, obviously we have a lot more than 1,700 residents in Asphodel-Norwood, let alone what's stated to come online with the growth. So in order to support that conversation, council entered into an intent to lease on September 27th in 2022, which guaranteed the township space in a new medical professional building. The developer has submitted all the necessary documents to support a development agreement. They were huge documents. We could not put them all into a PDF and email them all out to you in the agenda package. They, of course, have been uploaded to the municipal website for the public's viewing as well as council's viewing. And we did include that link in the staff report. So you were able to view all of them. It included stormwater management, site plan, the civil reports, etc. The stormwater management is being reviewed by the township's engineer to ensure that stormwater management practices are in alignment for what the property and neighboring properties need. And township staff are satisfied with the site plan approach. Now I'm going to share my screen. Can council see that? Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
So this kind of gives an idea of where it's going to be located. So that red square represents the entire, what you would call development area. And the darker shape in there is the building itself. So what we mean by that red square development area just means it'll be grass or trees or parking. That soil is going to be disturbed in some way. That's what that means. You can see it's coming right off of Spruce Drive here. So Spruce Drive will extend out to the edge of the development area, and then there'll be a temporary cul-de-sac put in here, and it'll come back out. That cul-de-sac is there obviously for vehicles to turn around, but its primary use and the size of it, which will meet OPS specs, will be for snowplow remove. Obviously, we need to turn snowplow around, etc. The garbage and recycling facilities for this development will be over in this area here, according to the site plan. So you'll see that you'll be able to drive in. There's parking all along here, parking all along here, drive in around the back, and garbage and recycling's here. And then there's a turnaround spot for garbage and recycling vehicles. The site plan has been submitted is compliant with the township zoning bylaw, meaning it has adequate sizing of regular spaces and accessible spaces. It does have the exact number of required parking spaces, but obviously based on the sheer size of the land, if it was to be noticed that additional parking spots were needed, they could be easily ascertained. The draft stormwater management report is showing a stormwater management pond to be located in this area here. As there is a culvert that goes underneath the road, it's municipally owned right here. So the stormwater management pond that's here would feed into the culvert that's here that's already existing. There's a lot of vacant land here, so there isn't much stormwater that's going to actually land in the pond. It is expected that it'll be quite dry, but it does have to be designed to hold the 100-year storm, as well as it's also taking a look at that there will be additional developments on this land. And the hope is that stormwater management pond, so they don't have to keep redeploying and redesigning and reconstructing, that stormwater management pond would be able to take on an additional development by, and I don't ask because I have no idea what that would be. Just trying to be forward thinking in regards to a stormwater management piece. It's really important to not piecemeal that approach. And like, you can piecemeal water and sanitary, you can extend a water main, you can extend a sanitary main, but none of us want 2 and 3 and 4 stormwater management ponds to support one piece of property. So the hope is to be able to take a look at stormwater as a whole. There will be no adverse effects to any neighboring properties. As you can, the property, if you know the property, does slope naturally topographically to Industrial Drive, and that's why the stormwater management pond is slated to be in this area. So that, just kind of zoom out here a little bit. Can you? Oh, my screen is being kind of funny. So this kind of gives you more. Let me just move you over here. This is more of the building itself. So this is what I was talking about. This is the garbage and recycling facility here. This is the driveway, and there you can kind of see where the Spruce Street cul-de-sac is going to be. You come in, access parking. You can go all the way around the building. That is for fire access as well. And then obviously garbage and recycling can turn around, and you can see all of the parking spaces. The other piece that you can see here, this is just draft because we need to do public consultation with these property owners. So the development agreement states that the fencing and landscaping will be installed to the satisfaction of the municipality. And the reason that our agreements state that is because what one property owner wants, another one doesn't. And we see that all the time with developers in regards to fencing. Some want chain link. We've already heard from one resident who wants chain link because they want the sun to be able to hit their vegetable garden that's located at the rear of their property, where another member would prefer a privacy fence. So it's just easier to state that the developer will pay for and install all fencing to the satisfaction of the municipality. And the only way to satisfy the municipality is to ensure that the property owners along this property line are content with the fencing solution that's being proposed. You can also see trees. These trees have been placed here to satisfy the tree policy for the township. That said, that'll also be part of the public consultation with the residents here to see, would you like to see, if you want to have a chain link fence, when you look through the chain link fence, would you prefer to see a maple tree? Would you prefer to see an evergreen tree? The developer doesn't have a strong opinion. They just know they have to plant the trees, the type of trees. They're quite flexible as to whatever type it is that will make the community members satisfied. You can see this is a basic outline of what the building would look like. It is all one level. That's the side, their side, back. So this is this would be the entrance into the medical center portion. So we would go in and then you would go through another door to access it. But this is the outside entrance to the space that the township would be leasing. And this is what a site plan looks like. There's all sorts of notes and details in there, obviously, things that our chief building official cares about in regards to being able to get to a point to issue a building permit. So we are still waiting for the building permit application. We have not received the full application at this point in time. We're just trying to get the securities in order for our consultant to be able to peer review the submission for stormwater, as well as allow them to do some on-site grading of the, start moving some topsoil around to start dealing with topographically what the site requires and what the site needs. The word in regards to the new medical center space that will be conducive to a team approach to primary health care is out. And we have had, I would say, productive, and I would consider them successful. I know it's never really successful until you have a family practitioner signing on the dotted line with the FO. But the fact that those conversations are happening now, and prior to this proposal, we weren't having any conversations with anybody. It was quite quiet. So staff is quite happy that when Dr. Keogh and the Peterborough Family Health Team and the province and our doctor recruiters, both of them, we've had Maria Gomez, and now we have Kevin Kirkpatrick, they've all been singing the same song as to the medical center has to be able to support a team. And the 3 doctors that we have met with have had input into the layout of the space. They provided feedback into the layout so that it is conducive to a place that they would be happy to report to work to every day. So that has also been exciting to see. Next steps would be a public information center. So council always sees these things first. So it's coming forward to you in regards to entering into the development agreement. We didn't move forward with a public information center after the intent to lease due to conversations. We didn't have anything to show them. We didn't have they're going to want, the public is going to want, what is this thing going to look like? What is it going to look like? How big is it going to be? What am I going to see in my backyard? Or what is this thing going to look like? And so we needed to get to a place. And in order to get to that place, we need to have some peer review done as well. So we need to collect the funds. And in order to collect the funds, we need an agreement. So that is why the flow of everything has landed the way that it has and how it's progressed the way that it has. But township staff don't see any red flags at this point in time. The developers have been more than willing to fund all of the studies to date, and any comments that township staff have put forward in regards to sidewalk requirements, streetlight requirements, illumination studies to ensure that there's no impact on neighboring properties. They have provided everything. So after the Public Information Center, at that point in time, the township engineers and staff will take a look at a detailed design submission. And I'm sure the chief building official at that point in time will also receive a building permit application, which will be quite substantial. And it'll take us a bit to review the detailed design. That'll include the exact elevation of the sanitary main, the exact elevation of the storm, the water main. As of right now, we're just determining that, yes, you have to pay to do that. But then we'll be taking a look at, elevations. We have exposed the elevation at the end of Spruce Street to confirm that we can achieve the sanitary elevation, and that has been confirmed. Some test wells have been done on site, and everything's been satisfied that way. And then, of course, we'll have to deal with the complete master facilities plan and what's going to happen to the existing medical center. It is slated, this building is slated, they want to break ground ASAP for November, at least part of the building to be open in November. Whether all tenants are occupying the space in November or not, they do have 3 spaces already intent to lease signed. And so those spaces will be built first, and then all of the excess surplus space that I think they're going to have no problem filling based on the conversations with additional healthcare services will come a bit later after November if needed. So I'm not really sure what council has for questions, so I will leave it at that and see where you take the conversation. Thank you, Mayor.
I just wanted to say, Candace, very good report. A lot of the residents that are watching here now can see the diagram that they had put forward. It gives them some kind of idea of what's going on in the future with the medical building. Deputy Mayor Burt.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you very much, Candace, for bringing this forward. We've been waiting for this for a while, as have our residents. And yeah, we heard time and time again that if we want to attract a family health team, we need to do things differently. And we were given this opportunity, and it is exciting to see this move forward. And I just wanted to confirm, and just so that the rest of council is aware as well, you had stated in your report that all of the studies are covered by the developer, and the same goes, just the same as it is for any subdivision plan. The road work, the sewer work, the water work, all of that, sidewalks, lighting, all of those costs are borne by the developer. And I think that's important for residents to understand. And so I really wanted to bring that forward. I don't really have any questions at this time, but look forward to the PIC and hearing the comments from our residents and our taxpayers. So thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
Through you, Mayor. Basically along the same lines as Deputy Mayor Burt, excited to see this finally come forward to everybody. There's been lots of questions by lots of people in the community, which is awesome that everybody's engaged. There is certainly lots of interest, and I'm proud of the standpoint that we have listened to a lot of people. We've engaged with a lot of different people to understand what is the best approach. And there's not a handbook for this. So we have taken all the advice that we've received from many, many people, because truly this isn't our mandate. This is a provincial mandate to manage, look after healthcare for our residents. But we have gone down this road. I think we've gone down it successfully. I'm proud to date what we've done. And yeah, look forward now to just keeping the process moving along. It's very encouraging from some of the discussions that we've heard regarding doctors that want to come to our community, which is awesome. And I think really the only question I had, Candace, for you is on that public information center. Any idea just roughly of timing when we think that could be? Sounds like there's still a lot of things that have to happen, but any kind of just rough idea of timing of when that pick would be?
Yes, of course. Not that much has to be completed actually before we can go to Public Information Center. We wouldn't take a detailed design in regards to exactly the depth of the water main and the sanitary main and that type of detail to the PIC. We really try to keep it into something that is conducive for the public to understand, and you don't have to be an engineer to understand it. So I think we're pretty much prepared with the documentation that we have. We would ask the developers, they would have representation there, and obviously they're representing engineering firm. They would have to provide the large public board. So when we went to PICs in the past, we see more of these pre-COVID, of course, where you have the large boards of what the building's going to look like, what the streetscape is going to look like, and just have an overall discussion in regards to the residents' concerns. Obviously, we are really looking forward to hearing from the residents in the Maple Avenue and Spruce Street area, as that this is their neighborhood and this is their home. We have spoke to some of them already, but just to have that formalized process and allow them to be able to come and see the large sets of prints and large sets of drawings and be able to ask any questions. And I would love to see it. It'll be scheduled. If this gets council's blessing today, we'll be going to the developers and the engineers and finding a date. If we could do it later in May, that would be fantastic. Beginning of June. It'll most definitely be before summer breaks. When everyone starts to go on vacation, it's never great to hold July and August consultation. So
Awesome. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Councillor War?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I just want to tag on to what Councillor Walsh and Deputy Mayor Burt have been saying. It's great to have positive conversations with potential health providers. That's good news. I just had one question with the potential of 3 tenants with the potential building that's being built. What is the square footage of the entire building? Do you have an idea of the building square footage?
The envelope of the building is just over 12,000 square feet. So right around 12,000. The intent to lease for the municipality was right around 3,800.
3,800.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, councillors, recommendation that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood receives this report regarding a development agreement for Norwood Medical Campus Building by 100023590 Ontario Inc. as information, and further that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood authorizes the mayor and the clerk to execute the development agreement with 100023590 Ontario Inc. for a medical campus building. Councillor Walsh so moves. Deputy Mayor Burt seconds. Any more discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. R7 management action list. Candace?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So you see the staff reports you have in front of you for May 9th. And what's coming up May 23rd, Municipal Government Week, the parking bylaw Norwood Fair update. We did have another meeting with representatives of the Norwood Fair last Friday. It was, and I've had a subsequent conversation with the manager of the fair. It's going exceptionally well. So this parking bylaw and Norwood Fair update, just waiting for the manager to get talking to the executive to ensure that they're aware of the conversation prior to it coming into the open council forum. But it's been a great conversation, and I think we're going to have a great great fair, but we always have a great fair. But, you know, just taking a holistic bird's eye view approach to traffic and pedestrian travel and just safety of the parade. And just to be honest with you, conversations we probably should have been having all along and will continue to have in subsequent years. So very positive conversation. We do have the sponsorship and advertising for the community center. Seamus and I have been chatting. There is going to be a policy around it. It's going to be fairly light. There's not a lot of teeth that need to go into this, but we do have highlighted the sections in the community center in which we have the opportunity for businesses to advertise outside of the signs and the Zamboni. So it's going to be exciting to see that. We've got some costing attached to it. Some of it is is fairly expensive. It isn't cheap to have graphics the size in which they need to be made, but then there's also some smaller opportunities as well. So looking forward to that. Removal of the wood grinding tender results. So that is those massive piles of wood chips up at the transfer station. So it's out for tender right now. So the results of that tender and how that's going to move forward, because obviously we need to get that stuff out of there as we've reported to council previously. Stormwater drainage easement. Now, this is a good little tidbit for council. So there is a storm water culvert per se that was installed off of Old Orchard Road and put into the river to deal with stormwater management on Old Orchard Road. There was no legal easement obtained when that infrastructure was put in the ground. The property in which that holds that culvert has been sold, and the new owner wants to build a house and doesn't like where it is. And there's no legal easement to force it to be where it is. So there's going to be a staff report coming forward to detail the cost of going through that process. I couldn't tell you whether that culvert's been in there 30 years at least or more. It's been a long time. And nobody really knew it was there. And while we've been doing this, we found another one further east. So there is two, but we're going to bite them off one at a time. And we know about the other ones. We'll be able to build it, at least the other one, into a budget next year to address it and clean it up. But that's what that's about. Aquifer capacity report isn't going to be coming and may not be coming in 2023. So I'll explain this. So the aquifer capacity report that council received stated that we have 965 cubic meters a day, which is our permit to take water amount, and we can pump that forever because that's what we asked them to find out. We knew that we had lots of water, and we knew that our permit, we had a piece of paper from the ministry that says you're allowed to take 1965, but we didn't have any pump test that tells us, well, you have 1965 in the ground, do we or don't we? We've done all the pump tests, drilled all the monitoring wells, and we have proven that we do have the 1965 in the aquifer. Step 2 of that process is, okay, so if we have 1965, how much more do we have? Like, where's the cutoff before, we start to get concerned for water supply with additional growth and developments? That's what this memo is for. With the onset of growth on Mill Street and County Road 42 and Norwood Park Phase 4, we're looking at 1,541 additional units to the settlement area. So that 1,541 units obviously will have additional water requirements. It has preliminary calculations states that we have to increase our permit to take water in and around 2026 beyond the 1965. DM Wills has stated that we have 2,885 cubes comfortably. We would need to replace well 3 and well 1, which we've already, and we're going to drill them in close proximity to well 4, because we know that is our, where we have a lot of water up there in that part of the esker. That's where we would drill them. A part of that process, we have to do a modeling exercise. So the way we are sitting right now is we know we have the 1965. In order to finalize this report for you, we have to remodel the aquifer. And then I'm going to have to remodel it again to submit to the ministry the permit to take water next year and drill a couple of wells, which will change the modeling completely. It doesn't, from staff perspective, make sense to pay for that within a 12-month period twice when we already know we have 1965 and we're using 600 to 700 cubes a day. So it's not imminent, and we're not approving subdivisions and growth right now that is outside of that 1965. So why pay to have this twice? So from an administrative and financial standpoint, we know what DM Wells is telling us in regards to the 2885. We know when we're going to get triggered to do the permit to take water. We have all this pump data and testing data. So we're going to do the permit to take water application within the next 12 months. So we have to remodel. So we are recommending to not go through that exercise twice within a 12-month period when we really have the answer we need without going through that process. And we'll have a better report and a better picture once we have to do all the work to support a permit to take water application. Because we got to increase to 1965. We can wait closer to 2026 to increase application, but there is fear that the ministry will say that all of our pumping data that we just did to support the initial vulnerability and capacity reports are too old. And then we'd have to redo it. So we want to submit that application now. And DM Wells is like, well, we're going to have to remodel. So just doesn't make sense. Like, it's a good use of funds to do it when we don't have, it's not like we're hinging on the 1965 now and we need to increase and we're running in any sort of issues there. So we're looking at kicking that down the road. And then of course the water restriction bylaw, it was unbelievable. We've seen the lowest flows we've ever seen. We were down prior to this last warm spell that started on the weekend. We were down to 550 cubes a day is what we were averaging, just with the construction projects being buttoned up. Summer use hadn't really started. We were seeing 550. We jumped to 730 cubes just with the warm weather for people washing driveways, washing vehicles, starting their gardening, etc. So you can see that it most definitely has, the warm weather has impact, but we're well within the threshold of 1965 anyway. So you can see what else is coming up in June, later in the summer, into the fall. And I'll leave it with council to ask any questions or put anything forward for the action list.
Deputy Mayor Burke.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. I know there'll be certainly more information coming forward, but when you're talking about the remodeling exercise, for the reports that we already have, and then to do that remodeling exercise and get it in, is there an optimum time frame from when the studies which have been done are done versus the new study? Should those be done within X number of months and submitted? I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around a timeline.
Well, I guess the biggest thing is that there isn't a big change in the demand on the system. So really, if you were to look at, we would want to do it before all the Mill Street stuff happened, right? Because our demand is fairly consistent right now. So we want to do it before that happens. So all of the data that we have right now for the pump tests and everything is still valid. It's still 100% valid. That's what got us the 1965 guaranteed. In order to remodel based on the new developments that have come forward, we don't want to do all of the pump tests again. So we want to do that work to increase the permit to take water. We're going to start the application process in 2023. Probably won't do the pump work until 2024. But it's going to happen within the course of, over the course of the next year. Now that we have pretty consistent data, we are pretty much sure we're going to see 1,541 units. If we're just using the average per person requirement of an additional 1,541 units, that would be about 2,300 cubes a day. we've guaranteed that we have 1965 dam wells with the current pump data. So when you take pump data, then they model that out, they put it into a model, and it's like a computer program essentially to determine that, okay, if this is the rates and this is the aquifer and this is what the aquifer is made of through soil samples, then they can determine, 10, 15, 20-year yield demand and the impact and the effect. The more information and accurate data you feed that model, the better that it is. So now that we know that there's 1,541 units coming online, we know what the average per person uses, and that built out, we're looking at about 2,300 cubes. We know that we have that based on what Dean Wills is saying, that we have about 2,800, but we do need to drill 2 new wells. That would have, those 2 wells would be drilled in 2024. They would replace well 3 and they would replace well 1. Well 1 has been replaced once. It's the oldest well, 1948. It was drilled in 2017, but the ministry didn't feel it had a high enough yield to put it on as a production well. So it's a monitoring well, which actually worked out exceptionally well for us, to be honest. So that's why all of the new wells are going to the top of the Esker, because well 4 can take care of the supply of the village right now on its own. So it is the highest yielding well that we have. So a lot's going to happen in 2023 and 2024. The biggest issue that we have is max flow demand, maximum day. So although the average day for demand per person per use would be around, right now we're seeing, well, I just said 550 to 700 depending. Then they have this max day flow. So they look at every year and they say, what is the highest flow you've seen on a specific day throughout the year? And then we have to ensure that we can meet that demand. So that would be if we had a fire, downtown, then we would use an excessive amount of water. If we had a massive water main break that we couldn't get buttoned up really quick, that's going to spike it, and we're going to use an additional 1,000 cubes that day. So we need to take those one-offs into consideration, even outside the number of times a toilet gets flushed and someone waters their garden. So it's just ensuring that, I guess, I know the target is moving, but with all the growth and the sale of land and the developments that have been coming online, we have to just don't feel that we need to be duplicating efforts and duplicating the cost of those efforts. And we're just in a better position to see the bigger picture now than we were 8 months ago.
Okay, so it will be happening soon. I just kind of wanted to know about the timeline. And just one more question, if I may, Mayor. Given the possible replacement wells and all of that, will that change the source water protection zones? Like, will all of that mapping need to be done? I assume so. Okay.
Yeah. So once the permit to take water, the remodeling's done, the new wells are drilled, they've been online with the ministry, 100%, all the source water protection mapping will have to be redone again.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Hodge-Greaves.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Completely different topic. When I was out in the world, I had residents discussing speed restrictions, and I know it's a council priority for 2024. And I was wondering, with the speed restriction being implemented soon, I'm on River Road, if after we do that, if that gets implemented, is there sort of a plan? I don't remember now. Is there a plan to have an update on like putting black cats down to test the efficacy of the reduction in speed way on River Road, to see if that could then be implemented for other areas that people are concerned about in the township?
So
Candace, would you like to
yes,
speak on that?
sure. So yes, time of year is very, very important. So to ensure that you are comparing apples to apples. So I'm not sure whether the Black Cat is going to be deployed to River Road prior to May 2-4 weekend. If it's not, then we will be holding that until the fall. Because we implemented the speed reduction in the non-seasonal time of year, and River Road is our most seasonal tourist area with the campgrounds down there. So stay tuned a little bit on that based on time of year. Yes, we are always willing to install the Black Cat to collect data in any area. We just have to make a request to the police and ask them to please install it. And as soon as they have someone that they can deploy to get that done, then we get it up and we can get the report back. And it is probably our biggest education tool when it comes to determining whether there is a legitimate speed issue on a particular road or not. Sometimes it is perception. So to answer your question, I guess it's yes to both. It's just timing. It's just timing based. So yes, River to River Road, depending on if they get it out before May 24. If they don't, it'll be the fall after the tourist traffic has left. And then if there's any other particular road that council would like to see, then you just have to let me know and I will ask.
Further to what Candace was saying there, at our police committee meeting, we had checked when Sand Road was one of them, and it did not show an increase. Down the Sand Road, so as in your mail, if you're looking in your mirror before you open the door because of the traffic coming, everybody says they're speeding through there. But we've had police down there with monitors and have found out that no, they're not speeding. It just looks fast because of the congestion of the area where they are getting out of their vehicle. Just to follow up a bit more on that, with the Black Cat now being inputted on east and west areas of the village right now for speed limit checks there. Councillor War.
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor. Just wanted to go back to the question of the remodeling for the cost factor that might be involved in that. Deputy Mayor Burt already asked about the source water protection remapping, so that would have to be done. But the second question was the impact on probably the 2024 budget for the remodeling costs. Any idea of, I know I don't want to keep you to an exact figure, but is it going to be substantial?
The addition of the new wells is where your cost is going to be. The installation of 2 wells and then hooking those wells up. And then, of course, the engineering studies that are required to support a permit to take water increase application to the ministry. The remodeling is about $12,000. That portion of it, I know that amount. I don't really want to speak. We haven't tendered the wells. We haven't drilled any new municipal wells since 2017. And these are production wells. The latest wells we drilled were monitoring wells, so they're much smaller in diameter. And we're actually going to be drilling the biggest diameter wells that we have. Like, we're going to go to 6 or 8 inch well to have a larger pump down there, because that's what we're seeing with well 4. Well 4 can actually provide more than what we're able to pump out of it. We would have known that the well was going to be as productive as what it is, we would have drilled a bigger diameter well to put a bigger pump down there to get more yield out of it. So we're going to do that with the subsequent wells up there. So that's where the costs are going to come from.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome.
No further questions? Recommendation that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood accepts this report with the revision suggested by the CAO, clerk treasurer, and members of council. Can I have a mover of that? Councillor Walsh and Councillor Hodge-Greaves. All in favor of that motion? That motion is carried. For action, C4. Regional Municipality of Waterloo, protecting the privacy of candidates and donors. There's a recommendation there. Has everybody had a chance to read C4 in your package? Okay, with that, can I have a recommendation that Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood receives correspondence item C4 for information, or with a motion of support? What's your pleasure, councillors? Deputy Mayor Burt?
Receive for information.
So move. Second by Councillor War. All in favor? Motion is carried. Council liaison report, we've gone, everybody has read councillor liaison reports. CAO clerk treasurer list. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Burt, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Councillor Rohr had her hand up first.
Deputy Mayor
So
Burt.
go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see that. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
Thank you
Councillor
through you,
Rohr.
Mayor. Just for a brief councillor liaison report, because our event just took place on Saturday. And I just wanted to thank the community for coming out and supporting the sold out coronation tea. And a special thank you for community care for collaborating with the ANCHC, which is Cultural and Heritage Committee. And I also want to reiterate that the June opening, June 3rd, for the Heritage Center, and that and further to that, that the business advisory meeting is rescheduled to May 16th. And so that's all I have for a council liaison report. Thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Burt.
Yeah, thank you through you. We had a library board meeting last night. You will see the CAO report coming forward at the next thing. A lot going on in May, over 30 plus programming events in the month of May alone. And probably all of you are wondering how the Smile Cookie campaign went. We had a great deal of fun decorating, and I want to really put an official thank you out to all the volunteers. Not only did board members and staff take part, but we had hospice members step up, because they have done it before in the past and they were willing to help. And it was a great help for us, because our board consists of demographic that are pretty much all still have full-time careers and jobs. So it's different than having them retired. So we really appreciate all the help we have. So the grant, well, they were still doing donations yesterday, but our library will receive about $6,900. Havelock
Very
will
good.
receive about the same. So the sales were phenomenal. So I just want, I'll have a total number, for at the next, at the next meeting, but man, oh man, that was fantastic. So we can't thank Tim Hortons, Havelock management and staff enough, because that's a good fundraiser for our community. And they certainly, don't have to bring Asphodel-Norwood in, and they often do. So very much appreciated. So I will give you the full number once I get that, but we were pretty darned excited at the end of the meeting last night when Trish gave that information. So couldn't wait to pass it along. So there you go. Thank you.
Very good information, Deputy Mayor Burt. I can report that I was at the Trans-Canada Trail 10th anniversary on Saturday. I'm sorry I missed the coronation tea, but I did hear that there was quite a few councillors there. Glad it's under 3. Everything went very well with the Trans-Canada Trail. The volunteers they have there is unbelievable. To see the trails, it's just unbelievable how it's all cleaned back, and kudos to them and their volunteers. And the same as the coronation tea, I've heard nothing but good things about that also. Anything else, councillors, on liaison reports? Councillor Walsh.
You just basically a quick update on from the Special Events Committee, and I will have a full report for the next meeting. But Showcase Asphodel-Norwood will be taking place on June 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Millennium Room. At this point, we're moving forward with the township being the main sponsor. Our sponsor from last year has declined, and the feeling on the committee is we were at a point where we needed to keep moving along. So we have used some of our budget to become the main sponsor, but things are moving forward greatly. We're now out letters going out to businesses that wish to participate in the event, and planning has come along very well. And just lastly, just want to reiterate to Paula and her team and the help from community care. Coronation tea was awesome. It was great to see the town hall filled. Some amazing dress and headdress from some of the people in attendance, and also great news on the Smile Cookie campaign. So that's awesome news to hear as well.
Okay, moving along, councillors, CAO clerk treasurer's list.
Thank
Candace?
you, Mayor. I will keep it short. The construction that's happening behind the businesses on County Road 45 to connect the water main from Victoria Street to Highway 7 is ahead of schedule. So although they were late starting, they are ahead of schedule, which is fantastic. Things are moving along there quite nicely. I also wanted to ask council to please let me know if there's any dates in the first couple of weeks of June that you are not available, because we need to book the township road tour for us to go out and do that. So I would just kindly ask if you could please forward the first 2 weeks of June, any dates that you are most definitely not available, and then I will put out a couple in order to get a date for us to participate in that, as well as any locations that you specifically want to see that may be off of, our general list. So generally, we do water, wastewater, parks, facilities, certain roads, Trent River access points, those types of things. So if there's anything outside of where we traditionally have gone or where you would suspect we would go on a road tour, please let me know so we can ensure that it's added in the agenda, because we do like to have a route pre-planned so that the bus driver isn't zigzagging across the township 15 times. So I do greatly appreciate that. Construction season is going to be ramping up now that you can see some tenders that were awarded today. So you're going to start to see things moving forward in regards to that. Stay tuned. Peter's got some more tenders to come out, which he's diligently working on. So we'll be able to get those forward, such as sidewalks being the main one. And that is it for me, Mayor. I'll keep it short.
Councillor Hodge-Greaves.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Candace, I was wondering, I had a resident suggest that, and maybe this is something for 2024 budget, but starting like on-site signage for projects like the trees being cut down in Asphodel Park, maybe having a sign saying, we acknowledging that we know what's happening, cutting down trees, making the township safer, and similar to the big project out back, just, a sign that says, similar to the one that was on Center Line, water main repairs, just so people who are driving past just kind of have an idea. Is that something that we have done in the past, or perhaps something to consider for the future?
Okay, I will assume that no motion will come out of this, because if you want a motion, we'll have to move it to general business, but I can ask the question if we're not going to have a motion. Traditionally, the only time we see signage on a capital project is if it's funded by something other than municipal tax dollars. So the funding, so the Centerline Road signage, you'll see some up at the water treatment plant. You'll see one at the community center for the fitness center expansion. Whenever the province or the feds put money towards a capital project, they have sign templates that we have to complete. The only thing that we have done in the past is we have a construction capital projects page on our website that basically states that this is, what's happening. This is why, but we've never put specific signs on township only projects. It is definite. I get where you're coming from. There's definitely maybe some merit to the larger ones, the larger projects that are seeing some impact. But if it's something that you want to see in the 2024 budget, when we bring forward the draft budgets, like the department ones, and you see the capital projects that are laid out, that is something that you could earmark and ask if we're going to be having specific signage on each report. But as of now, I would just flip them to the capital project page on the website for this year anyway, since we don't have any budget dollars for it. And most of our capital projects are either underway or at least going to be commencing relatively quickly. If that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Yes, and I will make a note to, in budget discussions, to revisit that. Is that okay?
That's lovely.
Okay, any more general business?
Mayor, we haven't
Councillor
started
Moore?
general business yet.
Oh, sorry, still on the clerk treasurer's list. Have you anything else, Candace? Does anybody
No.
else have any questions? You said it was
Thank
going to
you.
be short. Okay, moving on to the general business. Paula, you had something to bring up under new general business?
Yes, thank you through you, Mayor. Just one thing, through the Lang Hastings Trail website, when I was reading through, there has been sightings of wild parsnip, which if you are on the trail systems, it can cause really serious skin irritation. And now that, you know, people are out and about on all the trails around, I just wanted to put that out to our residents to keep an eye out, because it is a very dangerous plant, and for pets and for people. So I just wanted to put that forward, that it has been spotted on the Lang Hastings Trail. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Burt?
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Two things. One, Candace, the radar sign on the east end of Westwood still isn't working. It wasn't working last week, and I thought it was just because there was no sun. It's still not working after the sun, so I'm just throwing that out there. Second thing is discussion around the delegation that came this morning, and I guess obviously that has a funding and a financial implication component for our budget and for council. And I believe, Candace, correct me if I'm wrong, but this would be where we need to bring this up to move that decision forward. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I guess my question is, given the timing of our facilities review and what we find when that comes back, and given the needs that they are needing really fairly immediately within a number of weeks, what are the financial implications from a standpoint for renting or having them use the town hall for July and August, and then moving forward in September with the Millennium Room? Or that being said, can a report come back? Maybe that's the way to do it. Can a report come back next time to council, and then a full decision, full report can be made? So however, maybe that's the best way to do it. Okay, that's the best way to do it. So I will make a motion to direct staff to prepare a report regarding the request from our delegation, and I'm sorry, I can't remember. It used to be Family Resource Center, but you know the name, in regards to the financial implications for the rental of both the town hall and the Millennium Room moving forward for 2023 and perhaps into 2024.
Can I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor War. Any more discussion? No. All in favor of that motion? That motion's carried. Any other general business, councillors? Okay, with not having any more general business, I'll need a motion to a recommendation that council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood enters into a closed session at 3:08. PM for the purpose of discussing 2 items regarding personnel matters about indefensible individual, including municipal or local board employees in accordance with section 239 2-B of the Municipal Act 2001. CAO White, yes.
Thank you. Can we just amend that motion? It'll just be, we will only be discussing 1 item regarding personnel matters.
1 item
Yes, please. Thank you. Sorry about that.
with amended. And now can I have a mover of that motion? Amended. Councillor Walsh and Councillor Hodge Greaves. All in favor of that motion? That motion's carried.
Just 1 second, please, Mayor.
Can we take a 1-minute recess or 2-minute recess?
I'll give you 5. Sorry. Moving along now from the closed session. Notice of motion. We have a notice of motion that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood approves the introduction of a municipal scholarship program for graduates in Norwood District High School pursuing post-secondary education in the fields of public service, municipal government, business, cybersecurity, heavy equipment operator, civil engineering, or planning in the amount of 2 $500 scholarships, one at $1,000 scholarship. And therefore that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood direct staff to include the $1,000 in the draft 2024 municipal operating budget to support the scholarship program for councillors' consideration. I have a mover of that, please. And then we'll have discussion after. Moved by Hodge Greaves, second by Councillor Ward. Discussion. No?
No. So whoever placed the notice of motion on the agenda, which was Councillor Ward, she needs to make her motion.
It. Sorry. So it was Councillor Ward that made green sort of locking up here again too. Your internet connection is unstable. I'm getting going across my screen right now.
Well, technically, Mayor, you're gonna have to relinquish chair for the next motion anyway.
For the next motion.
And Deputy Mayor, so maybe you could give her the chair now because she's got internet.
Okay, that's
Just a
fine.
thought. Okay.
Okay, I'll relinquish the chair to you, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So notice of motion number 2, that the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood direct staff to prepare a report in regards to the particulars of hosting a free dump day for the residents of Asphodel-Norwood. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, can we just
The first
deal
one.
with the first motion? Because I didn't hear anything that Pat said, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay. So
Okay.
Paula moved it and that's all I've got. So I don't know if we had a seconder or discussion or a
Okay,
vote.
Councillor Hodge Greaves was the seconder on that. I'm sorry, I
Okay.
thought that was passed. Any conversation on the motion? Go ahead, Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, I guess, so this would be, just to clarify, this would be under consideration for 2024 budget. So it would be presented at potentially next year's graduation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, and I guess the only other comment is, I know Norwood District High School is our local high school, but we also have a number of, and I'm not sure how you'd approach this, but we also have a number of students that attend other schools other than Norwood High. So I'm not sure how you would address that. I just wanted to bring it to light that not every student in the lower schools come to Norwood High.
Go ahead, Councillor Hodge Greaves, and then I'll have a comment if anybody else, if everyone else completed. Go ahead.
I understand residents choose to, they do go to the other system
they go into Peterborough, other schools. My personal preference is that this would be a local to Norwood High. Norwood High, as we learned from Jake McNeil's presentation, the volleyball club, we want to retain Asphodel-Norwood students in Asphodel-Norwood as well. But I feel the local school needs some incentives as well. The larger schools have different draws, but that perhaps in the staff report, they could potentially address the issue. But personally, I feel we should be supporting, I know they're local students, but our local community and keeping the students within our local school is my stronger preference.
Any other comments? So yeah, I do have a comment. I agree with Councillor Hodge-Greaves. This is designed for Norwood District High School students, and certainly, you know, there could be students coming from elsewhere. It doesn't matter where they live. It depends on where they go to school. And so I believe that the motion is for the scholarship at the Norwood District High School graduates. And I believe that was the motion that Councillor Ward put forward, correct? Okay, so we
Yes.
have a first and a seconder on the table. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, item notice of motion number 2, the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood directs staff to prepare a report in regards to the particulars of hosting a free dump day for the residents of Asphodel-Norwood, including the financial impact for council's consideration at a future meeting. And I assume that motion was brought forward by Mayor Wilford. So go ahead, Mayor.
Just speaking on that, I'll also move that motion. I'll need a seconder, but speaking about it, I am not talking about curbside garbage. I'm talking about people's garbage that is accumulated along the side of houses. I know that there will be an influx of mattresses, maybe some odd furniture. I'm not sure. Yes, it could cost quite a bit, but I would far sooner have it done here on a free dump day where we might be able to get minor sports. You might be able to get Lions Club. You might be able to get Legion. You might be able to get other ones included. For some of these people that don't have ways of getting it to the dump, they might be able to have a vehicle there, help them load it if they need help. Hopefully they don't. To get this refuge to the dump, I know Earth Day is just passed. I know that there was quite a few people participating on that. I know from the 8th line from Highway 2 to the center line, I know a couple that picked up 8 bags of garbage along there alone. I know people that have been out on the 5th line and collected bags of garbage. I actually stopped at my house and said, look at this. This is from the ditches. I'd rather see it go to the dump site than go out in our property in the ditches, etc. And that's why I'm bringing this forward.
Okay, Mayor, you were cutting in and out a little bit, but I think we got the idea. So Mayor Wilford has made the motion. Can we have a seconder on the floor, and then I'll open up for questions. Seconded by Councillor Walsh. And further discussion or questions for the mayor or Candace? Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. I just had a question about the costing. Like, I think we need to know what kind of cost would be involved, for one thing. And the second item, I was wondering if maybe we could implement something, you know, like one of those white elephant sales where you can put out items to the end of your driveway on a certain weekend and you bring it back, which also incorporates recycling, reusing items. Like maybe there's other ways of, you know, getting rid of some of these items. And then I also noticed the township had put forward an Adopt a Road program. And so those were 3 things that I thought about when this motion came forward. So one, costing, maybe looking into the recycling community, like how do we, reuse some of these items that may be put out. And the third, the township adopt a road program. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Go ahead, Councillor Hodge-Greaves.
There are people with large barns in the township, and if it's a truly free dump day, what's to stop people from just emptying out? They've just bought a new property and they're just emptying out their entire contents of a 100-year-old barn. My concern is the high financial cost, as well as the type of stuff that could be coming from historical spaces, or not even historical, just I think we could be overwhelmed. There's a real concern for being overwhelmed by if you just have everyone saving all their garbage and collections. So I'm nervous about not just the financial cost, but then what do we do with the amount of stuff that could be coming forward from some of the properties that people have.
Thank you. And Candace has her hand up. Go ahead.
So to answer, I really, at this point in time, when the mayor brought this forward and we chatted about it, that's why I said that a staff report would need to come forward. There's a lot of logistics to hosting a day such as this, is it going to be held outside of our regular dump day hours? Is it going to be held on a regular dump day? Do we need to extend the hours of that dump day? All of that requires permission from the MOECP because it's outside of our ECA license. We can't even change our day of operation or our time of operation without their permission. So there's logistics in regards to, they're not insurmountable, but they're just things that council needs to know that these are the requirements. So so I think staff we need to go back, and if this is something that council is entertaining, that you want to potentially see in our community based on the mayor's request, then I think all of these questions would be answered in the staff report. Are we going to maximize the amount that can come per household? Are we going to put provisions around what types of items can be dropped off and the number of those types of items? We're only going to take one couch per household, one appliance per household, one whatever. Are we going to put those types of frameworks around it? We would need an increase, I would suspect, in the number of transfer station bins that are available at the transfer station that day. We have to look at our ECA and our mapping for that, because I guarantee we'd have to include that into our MOECP request to change the layout of the transfer station. We only have so many spots up there. And do we have the equipment to move a transfer station bin out, put it back in? We're $24,000 a year in transfer station bins for the whole year. So, that gives you an idea. That's a fair number of bins over the course of a year for $24,000. Definitely going to be financial impact. Staff would have to do its best guess, because how would you fully be able to tell you exactly what it's going to cost without knowing exactly how much is coming? There is concern from a staffing level in regards to curbside bag garbage. I am glad the mayor mentioned that wouldn't be included, because I think if you put a free dump day out there, you advertise it for 4 weeks, people aren't putting their garbage to the curb for 4 weeks and buying bag tags, and we're going to have a garbage truck going around the township for load no garbage that we're paying for. So I think there is there's lots that would need to be figured out that I think can't be answered or solved during this conversation, because you don't have
The information.
data to make the decision. So really the decision is there an appetite for staff to spend the time researching it and doing the staff report? That's really what the ask is, because all that other stuff would be determined in a staff report, if that makes sense.
Okay, so thank you. Any other questions at this time? Seeing none, so there is a motion on the floor. We will do a vote on that motion, and that is just to move forward and to possibly investigate. So we will vote on that motion and see where it goes. So all in favor of the motion, directing staff to prepare a report in regards to the particulars of hosting a free dump day, all in favor?
I want it.
2, 3. And so it looks like the motion has carried. So do you need any further information, Candace? Nope. Okay, thank you. And at this point, we'll be going into bylaws, and Mayor, is your internet okay? Because if it is, I can relinquish the chair.
I'll let you keep going because your voice is breaking in and out right now. I don't know if
Okay.
mine is.
Yeah, yours is as well, so it must be on your end. So, carrying on to bylaws, Candace, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Being a bylaw to authorize entering into a merger agreement between Barbara Joy Bailey, the applicant, and Patrick John Doherty and Brenda Marie Doherty, the purchaser, and the corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, be read a first, second, and third time in numbered bylaw 2023-25.
Motion, Councillor Walsh, seconder, Mayor Wilford, all in favor? Carried. Next one.
Being a bylaw to authorize execution of a development agreement between 1000235 Ontario Inc. and the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, be read a first, second, and third time in numbered bylaw 2023-26.
Okay, motion for that bylaw. Councillor War, and seconded by anybody? Councillor Walsh, all in favor? And the next one, Candace?
Being a bylaw to establish fees and charges to be collected by the Corporation of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood, be read a first, second, and third time in numbered bylaw 2023-27.
And motion for that one. Mayor Wilford, and seconded by Councillor Hodge Greaves, all in favor? And that is carried. Confirming bylaw.
Being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of the Council of the Township of Asphodel-Norwood held May 9th, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time in numbered bylaw 2023-28.
And a motion by Councillor Hodge Greaves, seconder, Councillor War, all in favor? That is approved, and you have your future meeting schedule in front of you. And we have one more, and that is the adjournment. Who would like to make a motion to adjourn? Councillor Hodge Greaves, Councillor War, all in favor? I believe we will be, and very good. Thank you so much for the meeting, and we will see everyone in a couple weeks or at the call of the chair. Have a great week, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.